Deep inside a metal space station far from any star, there was a long, cold hallway. Bright lights buzzed above and heavy steel doors lined the walls. Behind one of those doors, in a small glass room, lay a girl. She was not human. Her skin was golden, soft and glowing like sunlight trapped in a bottle. Her white hair was tangled. Her arms and legs were tied with glowing chains. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She only stared at the ceiling with empty, tired eyes. Her name was Siri. She didn't remember how long she had been in that room. Time didn't move in here. The walls were always white, the lights never turned off, and the pain always came back. Every morning, the aliens came in. Cold, heartless scientists in silver suits. Their eyes were black, their voices flat. They poked her skin. They took her blood. They shocked her nerves. They wrote notes on floating screens as she cried without sound. She learned not to speak. They only hurt her more when she did. One day, something changed. The door hissed open, but this time it wasn't just the usual team. A tall figure stood behind them, different from the rest. He wasn't wearing a silver suit. He wore black. His eyes were blue, not black. His hair was short, dark, and his face had something the others didn't have: emotion. The head alien scientist turned to him. "This is Subject 7X. You will observe her reactions today. Don't interfere." The man nodded silently. Siri looked at him. Their eyes met for one moment. She expected coldness. She expected disgust. But the man flinched. He looked away. He looked guilty. His name was Drake Carson. He was a human. A brilliant tech engineer from Earth, hired by the Galactic Union to help improve their research labs. This was his first day inside the lab. He had heard rumors about experiments on living beings, but he had no idea it would be like this. He thought it would be animals, creatures, not her, not someone with eyes like that. As the tests began, Drake stood behind a glass wall, pretending to take notes. He watched Siri wince as cold needles touched her back. He watched her body jerk when they sent shocks through her nerves. She bit her lip until it bled, but she made no sound. Drake felt something twist inside his chest. "This is wrong," he whispered under his breath. "What did you say?" One of the aliens turned. "Nothing," Drake replied quickly. Later that night, when the lab was empty, Drake stayed behind. He told the guards he needed to review the data. They didn't care. As long as the human didn't touch anything, they let him be. Drake walked slowly to the glass room. Siri was still strapped to the table, but she was awake. Her golden eyes followed him. She didn't speak. She was used to silence. Drake pressed a few buttons. The soundproof wall lowered just enough to hear a whisper. "I'm sorry," he said softly. She blinked. He didn't know what to say next. He had never seen someone so broken, and yet still alive. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer. He placed his hand on the glass between them. "My name is Drake. I'm not like them." Still silence. He turned to leave, but then a soft, raspy voice echoed through the small speaker. "Siri." Drake froze. Her voice was like a wind through ashes, weak but real. He turned back and smiled just a little. "I'll come back," he said. "I promise." In the darkness of her cold room, Siri closed her eyes. For the first time in months, maybe years, someone said something kind. He asked her name. He didn't look at her like a monster. He said he'll come back. Her lips moved slightly, a whisper only she could hear. "Drake." But outside in the hallways, the alien scientists were watching. One of them leaned close to another. The human shows interest. "Shall we prepare memory wipe?" "Not yet," the other replied. "Let him bond. Emotions make better data. More pain." The screen showed Siri's glowing face and the human's hand on the glass. "Let him come close. It will make the break more valuable." Drake didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her, Siri, strapped to that table. Not fighting, not speaking, just enduring. And the worst part? She was awake through it all. Not a machine. Not a test subject. A living person, a girl. The next morning, he walked through the metal halls of the station with a heavy heart. The alien scientist nodded at him, showing fake politeness, but he knew they didn't respect him. To them, he was just a useful human engineer, someone good with tools but blind to higher science. Drake kept quiet, as usual. But inside, something was changing. Inside the lab, Siri sat upright, though her limbs were still locked. Her golden skin looked pale today. Her eyes looked dull. But when Drake entered, her gaze shifted. Just a little. Enough for him to notice. The head alien scientist turned to Drake. "We are increasing her neural sensitivity. You will assist with the biorelay calibration. Observe closely." Drake nodded. They began the procedure. Wires were attached to Siri's head. Sparks ran through the cables. Her eyes closed tightly. Her fingers curled in pain. Drake watched the screen in front of him. It showed every spike of pain. Each scream she didn't voice. He couldn't take it anymore. "Why are you doing this?" Drake asked. The room went silent. The lead scientist blinked. "For progress. Her DNA resists many known control types. If we can map it, we can re-engineer others of her kind. She is not important. Only her cells. She's alive." Drake whispered. "She is property." That word hit him hard. Property. Siri opened her eyes just then. She had heard everything. She looked at Drake, not with hate, but with sadness. She didn't expect help. Not anymore. But Drake stepped closer, his fists tight. "Then why keep her alive at all?" he asked. The alien tilted his head. "Because pain reveals more than peace." The words stabbed into Drake, like knives. That night, Drake returned again when no one was watching. The guards had grown used to his late data checks. He walked into the lab. The lights were dim. Siri was still awake. He sat beside the glass. "I'm sorry I couldn't stop them," he said quietly. Siri looked at him. Her lips trembled. "You asked why I don't scream?" Drake leaned forward. She took a breath. Her voice was slow, careful. "If I scream, they hurt me more. So I stopped." He closed his eyes in pain. "You don't deserve this." She gave a broken smile. "Deserve doesn't matter here." Drake suddenly reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a piece of chocolate. It was wrapped in silver foil. Siri stared. "This is from Earth," he said. "Sweet, soft, no pain, just comfort." He placed it gently in the slot used for tools. The panel moved and Siri took it. She smelled it, then took a bite. Her eyes widened. Her lips trembled again. She cried. Not from pain, but from the memory of something good. The next few days changed everything. Drake came often. Each night, he brought something small. A song on his tablet. A story about oceans, a scarf from Earth. Siri started to laugh, quietly, nervously, like she forgot how. She also began to trust him. One night she asked, "Why are you helping me?" Drake leaned against the wall and looked at her gently. "Because no one helped me when I was young. I know what it's like. To be trapped." Siri blinked. "But you're free." "Not really," he whispered. "I'm just in a nicer cage." But peace never lasts in places like this. One of the scientists noticed a change in Siri's brain scan. "She is showing signs of hope," they said. "Her stress levels are dropping." "That's unusual," another replied. "Hope makes them harder to break. We must erase her memories." Drake heard this during a routine meeting. He froze. "Wait, what?" he asked. "It's simple," the alien said. "We remove all emotion. She forgets the human, becomes useful again." Drake's heart raced. You can't. She's just property, remember? The alien smirked. That night, Drake didn't bring chocolate, he didn't bring stories. He brought a plan. We have to leave, he said through the whisper slot. Siri looked confused. They want to erase your memories. Everything. Even me. Her hands trembled. I won't let that happen, Drake said. I have one shot to unlock the pod bay. One time. If we fail, we die. If we win, you live. Siri looked down at her hands, then at him. You're risking everything. Drake smiled. So are you. In the silence of the lab, two prisoners, one in chains, the other in guilt, made a silent promise tomorrow they escape together. The power on the space station flickered. It was a tiny glitch, nothing major. But for Drake, it was the perfect moment. For weeks, he had studied the power systems. For days, he had mapped the guards' paths. And for hours, he had been waiting for this single power flicker, a scheduled energy cycle in the lower decks. In that 23-second blackout, one tiny maintenance door between the lab and the pod hangar would be unguarded. Only 23 seconds. No alarms. No chance for second tries, but that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was Siri. She could barely walk. Drake snuck into the lab again that night. No chocolate, no stories, only urgency in his voice. We escape in 2 nights, he whispered. Siri sat up slowly, her body still sore from the last experiment. How? I've studied the vents, I've hacked the codes, I can open the hallway door, but we only get 23 seconds. Siri tilted her head. You want me to run? Drake paused. No, I'll carry you. She stared at him. You'll get caught. I don't care, he said. I'd rather die free with you than live in this place another day. That night, after Drake left, Siri lay alone in the dark. Her fingers twitched slightly. Muscles screamed in pain. Her body was weak, but not broken. Not anymore. She whispered his name, like a secret prayer. Drake. She looked at the slot, where he used to slide chocolates and books. There was nothing today, just cold air and silence. And yet, she smiled. He was trying. For her. The next day was harder than any before. The scientists increased her neural testing. Electric pulses were sent through her skull. They forced her to see her worst memories over and over. Her family's faces, her capture, her first scream in this lab. But Siri didn't cry this time. She remembered Drake's stories. Oceans. Wind. Sunsets. Rain. She remembered taste. Chocolate. Kindness. A human who looked into her eyes and saw her. Not a test subject. Meanwhile, Drake prepared everything. He snuck into the guard room, copied access keys and wiped logs. He stole a cloak and hid syringes filled with sedative, just in case. He memorized every light, every beep, every delay. In the security gates, he had only one chance, and still something gnawed at his heart. If she couldn't move fast enough. What then? Would he leave her behind? Would she want him to? Later that night, during the daily maintenance blackout, Siri waited in her pod. But something was different. A small spark appeared inside her chains, then another. She blinked. Were the chains weaker than before? She looked at her wrist and twisted slightly. The chain didn't buzz. Drake had done something. He already started the escape without telling her. He was disabling the chain slowly, bit by bit, right under the scientists' noses. Her heart raced. She still couldn't speak loudly, so she mouthed the word through the glass wall. Ready. That night, as lights dimmed and systems shut down for their daily cycle, Siri found something strange on her pillow. A folded piece of paper. Paper? On a high-tech alien station? She unfolded it with shaking fingers. A hand-drawn picture. A tree. A sun, a little house, and 2 stick figures, one with black hair, one with golden skin, standing side by side. Below, a message written in human letters. We run at sunrise. She stared at the note for a long time. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She laughed, softly, quietly, but real. Somewhere above, in the security office, one alien looked at the surveillance screen. "She's showing odd behavior," it said. Another leaned over. "Emotion again?" "Laughter." They frowned. "Prepare her for the memory reset," the first one ordered. "Tomorrow morning." Drake didn't know. He slept for 2 hours that night, curled up in a storage pod near the escape route. His bag was packed. His heart was ready. He would carry her if he had to. He would face every gun, every alarm. He would not leave her behind. But time was running out, and they had no idea the scientists were planning to erase everything, just hours before the escape. The last message had been sent. The last smile had been shared. Now, it was a race. A race between memory and freedom. Between fear and love, between death and escape. Alarms had not started yet. The halls were still quiet, but something in the air felt different, like a storm about to begin. Inside the glass cell, Siri opened her eyes. She didn't sleep much. Not anymore. Not after reading Drake's message. "We run at sunrise." She didn't know what time it was, but she felt it deep in her chest. It was almost time. Her chains were looser today. They didn't hum with warning shocks anymore. They felt weaker, slower. She tested her arms gently, and one of the wrist cuffs made a click, not locking, but unlocking. Drake had done it. He was keeping his promise. In the maintenance bay below, the lab, Drake crouched behind a cargo crate dressed in a stolen technician uniform. He tapped a small hidden screen strapped to his wrist. "Power flicker in 2 minutes. Door override ready." His heart was pounding. His mouth was dry. This was it. He had one shot to break Siri out, run through the lab corridor, pass 2 gates, reach the pod bay, unlock a stolen ship, and escape into deep space. All before the station guards realized what was happening, and worst of all, he still didn't know if Siri was strong enough to run. He had packed a harness. If she couldn't move, he'd carry her. Whatever it took. Inside the lab, 2 scientists walked into Siri's room. "Prepare her for neural wash," one said. "No delay." She didn't flinch. They strapped her back into the table and activated the machine above her head. Lights blinked red. Thin wires dropped from the ceiling like cold fingers. They didn't know that the lock on her right wrist had already opened. They didn't notice the small strength returning to her body. And they didn't see the fire in her eyes. Just before the wires touched her head, the entire room went dark. Tss. Lights blinked, screens turned off. Doors froze in place. Power flicker. Exactly as planned. Then came the loud hiss of the main door. Drake burst in. "Siri!" The scientists turned in shock, but before they could speak, Drake raised a stolen pulse, blaster, and fired at the control panel. The wires hanging above Siri's head sparked, then dropped lifeless to the ground. He ran to her and tore off the last cuff. "You came," she whispered. "I said I would." She tried to stand, her legs wobbled. Drake didn't wait. He lifted her gently into his arms. She was light. Too light. "Hold on," he said, and ran. The lab hallway exploded into action. Red lights flared. Alarms screamed. "Security breach. Lab 7X. Guards turned toward the sound, but Drake was already halfway down the corridor, sprinting with Siri in his arms. "Unauthorized escape," a voice boomed over the comms. "Subject 7X is on the run with a human technician." Siri looked up at him, her head resting on his shoulder. "You're crazy." Drake laughed breathlessly. "You're welcome." The first gate appeared. Heavy security door with a biometric scanner. Drake slid his wrist under the panel. "Please work." Beep access granted. The door hissed open. They ran through. Behind them, the guards were closing in. Plasma rifles. Armored suits. No mercy. Drake ducked into a narrow vent corridor, jumped down a flight of stairs, and slammed a button to shut the path behind them. Steel doors crashed down. "That'll slow them," he said. Siri looked at him. Where are we going? To a ship. I got us something small, fast, and invisible to scanners. It's hidden under the hangar. She blinked. You planned all this? He nodded. Didn't want to die unprepared. They reached the last hallway. The pod hangar was just ahead, but standing between them and the exit, 3 guards, fully armed. Put her down, one shouted, or we'll shoot. Drake didn't move. He held Siri tighter. Then Siri leaned close and whispered something. Put me down. What? Put me down. He lowered her gently, and then he saw it. Her eyes. They were glowing. Bright golden light poured from her palms. Her skin shimmered like fire. The experiments, the pain, the injections. They had unlocked something inside her, something powerful. She stepped forward, her voice calm. You want to hurt me again? The guards raised their weapons. She raised her hand and the hallway exploded with light. When the light faded, the guards were on the ground, alive, but unconscious. Drake stared in shock. What was that? Siri looked back at him. I don't know, but I'm not helpless anymore. He smiled. Together they ran to the pod. Drake opened the hatch. Siri climbed in. He followed, hitting every launch button he had memorized. Come on, come on. The engines lit up, doors opened, and in one blast of blue fire the ship took off. The space station faded behind them. Siri sat beside Drake, looking out the window at the stars. Where are we going? She asked. Anywhere but here, he said. And for the first time in her life, Siri felt it. Freedom. The stars stretched across the black sky like scattered diamonds. Drake sat quietly in the pilot's seat, hands still shaking. The stolen pod drifted through deep space, quiet and unseen. It was old, rusty, and barely held together by wires and luck. But it was theirs. Beside him, Siri was asleep, her head resting on her folded arms, golden hair falling softly across her face. Her chest rose and fell with calm, steady breaths. For the first time, she looked peaceful. Drake didn't wake her. He just watched her sleep and whispered softly, We made it. After a few hours, the pod beeped softly. Fuel was low. Air. Filters would hold for 2 more days, maybe 3. Drake pulled up the star chart. Okay, where can we land where no one will find us? He skipped past all the major trade routes. Every civilized system would have cameras and scanners. The Galactic Union would already be searching. Posters. Warnings. Bounties. They had to go somewhere forgotten. Somewhere not even the maps could name. Then he saw it. Zone E91. Uncharted. No traffic. Low radiation. No signal towers. Just one small moon. Barely big enough to stand on. Perfect. When Siri woke, they were entering the planet's atmosphere. The pod shook hard. Fire danced across the windows. She grabbed the seat beside Drake. Where are we? Someplace that doesn't exist, he said. The pod crash-landed. It skidded across dark soil, bounced twice, then slammed into a dune. The front cracked but didn't explode. When the dust settled, everything was quiet. Drake stood first, checking Siri for injuries. You okay? She nodded. I'm tired of metal and white lights, she whispered. This feels better. The moon was wild and empty. Tall black trees covered the land. The ground was soft, like ash. Strange blue flowers grew in clusters. The sky was purple and full of slow-moving clouds. There were no buildings, no roads, no life, except for strange bird-like creatures that chirped in odd patterns. Drake found a small cave near a river. It was dry inside, hidden under rocks, and smelled like earth and moss. This is home now, he said. Siri sat on a rock, her bare feet in the cold water. She closed her eyes and smiled. Days passed. They lived simply. Drake hunted small animals, using traps. Siri used her glowing hands to heat food or create small lights in the dark. She was getting stronger every day. Her body no longer trembled. Her voice was no longer faint. She laughed now, real laughter. She told him about her world, her family before the experiments and the colors of her sky back home. Drake listened. He didn't talk much about his past, but Siri didn't ask. She knew what silence meant. She respected it. One night, as they lay under the open sky, Siri looked up. Drake, do you ever wonder if they'll find us? Drake looked at her. Every day. And if they do? He reached over and gently took her hand. Then we fight. She squeezed his hand. I'm not afraid anymore. But far above, floating in the shadows of the outer systems, a small ship received a signal. Subject 7X and a human fugitive have escaped. Reward 50,000 credits. Alive preferred. Dead acceptable. The bounty hunter leaned back in his chair, his long fingers tapping the armrest. Finally, he whispered. Something worth chasing. He locked onto the last known warp path, the trail Drake used to flee, and it led to one place, a moon with no name. Back on the ground, Drake was teaching Siri how to start a fire without glowing her hands. Like this, he said. Rubbing stones together, she raised an eyebrow. That's so slow. I know. But it's good to learn everything. She leaned close. Then teach me everything. Drake paused. Her eyes were bright, curious. He smiled. I will. The peace didn't last long. That night Siri woke to a strange hum, a sound that didn't belong. She stepped outside and looked at the sky. There, just above the trees, a single dot of light falling fast, too small to be a star, too quiet to be a meteor. A ship. Her heart sank. She ran back into the cave. Drake. Someone's coming. The sky burned red. A ship, black as shadow and silent as death, broke through the clouds and hovered above the nameless moon. It didn't send a warning. It didn't try to talk. It simply floated, watching. Drake stood at the edge of the cave, rifle in his hands. Siri stood beside him, barefoot, her long white hair brushing her shoulders. Her golden skin shimmered slightly in the moonlight. It's a bounty hunter, Drake said. Siri didn't blink. How do you know? Because they didn't come to ask questions. They came to collect. A sharp noise pierced the air. A pod dropped from the ship and landed with a heavy crash near the riverbed. Smoke hissed out. The doors opened slowly. From inside stepped a tall figure, covered in armor made from bones and black steel. No face could be seen behind the red-tinted helmet, only two glowing red eyes. The hunter didn't speak. He pulled out a weapon with spinning energy blades and pointed it toward the forest, toward them. We can still run, Siri said, gripping Drake's arm. If we move through the back cave tunnels— No, Drake said firmly. He'll track us. He has heat scans, ground sensors. If we run, we die tired. Then what do? He looked into her eyes. We make a stand. Siri's voice dropped. I'm not a fighter. Drake nodded. I know, but you're free now. And sometimes, freedom means fighting for it. The hunter marched forward, slow and steady. He didn't care about hiding. He knew his target couldn't escape. He stopped near the river. His helmet clicked. Subject 7X, human fugitive. You are surrounded. Step forward and die with some dignity. His voice was cold. No emotion. No mercy. Drake pulled Siri back into the cave. He'll come soon. We have one chance. When he walks past that fallen tree, I'll hit him from the left. I'll go with you, Siri said suddenly. Drake froze. What? She stepped, forward, eyes glowing faintly. I'm not hiding, not anymore. But I watched them torture me for months. I begged for help, and then you came. You gave me your food, your stories, your hand. She placed her hand on his chest. Let me give you something back. Drake stared at her, and then he smiled. The hunter entered the forest. Scanners beeped. A heat signature flickered nearby. 2 life forms. He raised his blade. Suddenly, boom. A blast of fire exploded near his feet. He jumped back, but it was too late. Siri rushed out from behind a rock, her hands glowing brighter than ever before. Light pulsed from her palms like waves of energy. She focused hard. The power burned inside her. The hunter aimed and fired, but the shot bent sideways in the air. Her energy twisted it. Drake moved fast from the side, firing his stolen rifle. The blast hit the hunter's chest, pushing him back. Not enough to kill him, but enough to break his balance. "You two are making this fun," the hunter growled through his helmet. He fired a sonic grenade. It hit the tree behind Siri, blowing it into splinters. She fell. Drake ran toward her, but the hunter stepped between them. "You're not part of the bounty, human," he hissed, "but I can still break you." He raised his blade. Suddenly, he stopped. His arms began to shake. His legs locked. He looked down. A golden glow was rising from his boots, crawling up his legs. "What is this?" Siri stood again. Her eyes were burning gold. Her body was glowing like fire beneath skin. She raised her hand and the glow grew stronger. "You tortured me," she whispered. "You called me a test subject." She walked toward him slowly. "You called me property." The hunter screamed. The energy wrapped around him like chains of light, forcing him to his knees. His armor cracked, his helmet sparked, and then silence. He collapsed, unmoving, breathing, but defeated. Drake ran to her. "Siri, are you okay?" She fell into his arms, breathing hard. "I didn't know I could do that," she whispered. "You saved both of us." She looked up, at him, tears in her eyes, but this time they weren't from pain. They were from pride. "I chose to fight," she said, "and I won." They dragged the hunter's body to the cave, removed his armor, and buried his weapons in the sand. Drake looked at Siri. "What now?" She smiled. "We wait." "For what?" "For the next one." Drake raised a brow. "You think they'll send more?" She nodded. "Let them." That night, they sat beside the fire. No more running, no more cages, just stars above and strength inside. Days passed. The nameless moon was quiet again. No ships, no weapons, no labs, just wind through black trees. And laughter. Drake sat near the fire, carving a piece of wood. His hands moved slowly, shaping it into something smooth. A small figure, a memory, a gift. Siri sat nearby, her feet in the river, humming softly. She was different now, stronger, lighter, alive. The golden glow in her skin still pulsed gently, but not from fear, from peace. Neither of them spoke much anymore. They didn't need to. They understood each other without words. One morning, Siri brought Drake a bundle of blue flowers. He looked surprised. "What's this for?" "For being my home," she said. Drake blinked. "I'm not a place," she smiled. "You are to me." That night, Siri told him something she hadn't told anyone before. "I had a sister once," she said, her voice soft. She was younger. She had silver eyes. We played near the sun gardens before the soldiers came. Drake didn't interrupt. They took us both. But she didn't survive the transport. A tear slipped down her cheek. Drake reached out and gently wiped it away. "I'm so sorry," Siri nodded slowly. "Sometimes I dream she's still here, laughing." Drake whispered. "Maybe she is." Siri closed her eyes, and for the first time in a long while, she let herself cry fully. And he didn't look away. He stayed. Weeks turned into months. The cave became a real home. Drake built shelves. Siri painted the walls with dust from glowing rocks. Together they grew strange vegetables in the soft soil. They fished. They collected stones. They told stories by the fire. One evening, as the orange sky faded to purple, Siri stood on a hill and looked out at the valley. Drake walked up behind her. You thinking of leaving? She shook her head. I'm thinking of staying forever. But peace has a way of surprising you. One morning while hunting, Drake found something in the grass, a small creature, furry, weak, shivering. Its leg was broken. It looked up at him, afraid. Drake gently picked it up, wrapped it in cloth, and brought it home. Siri gasped softly. What is it? No idea, he said. But it's alone. She stared at it for a long moment, then reached out and held it to her chest. It's not alone anymore. They named it Pebble. It followed Siri everywhere, hopping clumsily behind her, squeaking whenever she was out of sight. She fed it, bathed it, and even made a tiny nest from moss and feathers. Drake watched with a smile. She's a mother now, he joked. Siri rolled her eyes but blushed. I never thought I'd be caring for anything again, she said. But it feels right. One quiet night, the stars were brighter than ever. Siri looked up at them. Do you think your people still believe you're dead? Drake nodded. Most likely. Do you miss them? He paused. Some of them. But Earth stopped feeling like home a long time ago. She leaned her head against his shoulder. Then let's make a new Earth. Here. He looked at her, surprised. A new Earth? She nodded. One without cages. One where I don't have to hide. One where someone like Pebble doesn't grow up afraid. Drake didn't speak. He just reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny wooden figure. It was her. He handed it to her gently. This is for your home. Years passed. The world forgot about the girl called 7X. The bounty posters vanished. The station shut down. But on a moon no one remembered. In a cave lit by fire and starlight, a man and a girl built a life. They planted trees. They raised animals. And one day Siri walked out into the garden holding something small wrapped in a soft cloth. Drake turned to her, stunned. It's a baby, she whispered. Ours. His eyes filled with tears. It had golden skin and blue eyes. Half human, half alien, completely loved. As the child grew, he ran through the riverbeds, climbed trees, and laughed louder than the sky. He didn't know about war. He didn't know about pain. He only knew two things: kindness and freedom. One night many years later, as the fire cracked inside the cave, Siri held her son close. He asked, Mama, what's a lab? She looked at Drake, then smiled. A place I escaped from. The child thought about that. Did Daddy escape too? Drake ruffled his hair. No, son, he said softly. I was just lucky enough to find someone who did.